Right now at 5, Amber Jenkins takes us to Grove, Oklahoma, where we learn the inspiring story of a student who has overcome a lot in his life.
It's breezy, it is cold out there, and it's going to stay that way today. We'll talk about these wintry temperatures and some wintry precipitation coming up.
And thanks to a grant, MSSU's nonprofit TV station could get a facelift.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner, so if you haven't noticed, it's a bit cold, it's a bit breezy outside. But here's the deal, this is what it's supposed to be like, except for the wind. Take the wind out of the equation.
Very windy, yeah.
And this is exactly what it's supposed to be like for this time of year. So our spoiled days are behind us as we settle back into winter across the 4 states. Right now in Joplin, it's 35, and that wind west-southwest at 20, gusting to 32, is making it feel like 24 out there. And take a look at that. It is cold. 32 Iola, 34 in Pittsburgh, 37 Miami, 35 Neosho, 34 in Carthage. Now let's factor in that wind. Feels like 23 Iola, 27 Columbus, 28 Miami. Feels like 23 in Carthage this morning. MoDOT camera live and in color at I-44 and Range Line. Looking pretty decent so far. Green light for your morning drive. We are mostly cloudy and cold. And a green light for your drive home, as we will be partly to mostly cloudy and, you guessed it, still cold. As we look at the bus stop forecast, you're going to need that coat today, kids. Gusty winds this morning through the afternoon, 31 at 7 a.m. and we'll be up to about 36 by 3 o'clock today. Looking at a high of 43 degrees under partly to mostly cloudy skies. So some of us won't make it out of the upper 30s, just as a forewarning out there. And then tonight, boy, this is average. This is right about where we're supposed to be, but it is going to feel downright cold. 29 degrees for our overnight low. Now, the good news is the winds, as we head into this evening, will start to die down. As you can see, by about 4:30 today, we're still looking at some gusts out there, but as we head into the overnight hours, those winds become a lot more manageable for us. But because we're settling back into winter, it wouldn't be winter without some wintry precipitation in the forecast. So we're decent tomorrow, up to 46 Saturday. We'll have a rain and then maybe a little change over to snow, turning into some morning snow by Sunday. Maybe some evening snow on Monday. And then maybe some additional snow on Tuesday. So we're watching this system very closely for you because as you see after Saturday, we hang out in the upper 30s. So that actually puts us slightly below average for our highs. But our overnight lows, even though they are downright cold, are right about where they should be. So we'll watch the wintry precipitation chances for you over the next few days. And if anything significant looks like it's going to develop out of all of this, we'll let you know, of course. But otherwise, just be prepared. Winter is back and it is coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah, that's right. It makes me nervous anytime I see the word mix, rain-snow mix.
Yeah, that can always be, a little problematic for especially for drivers out there. So we'll keep a close eye on it for you and keep you updated.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, a Missouri man now faces charges for his actions during the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol building. According to the Department of Justice, 26-year-old Kyler Joseph Bard of Seneca, Missouri has been arrested on felony charges, including assaulting a law enforcement officer. Authorities say Bard also breached and engaged in physical violence and disorderly conduct while in a restricted building. He was arrested on January 13th, 2023 in Joplin, Missouri. Now, this case is being prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia and the Department of Justice National Security Division's Counterterrorism Section. The Oklahoma Attorney General says the state's current schedule of executing a death row inmate roughly every 30 days is placing too much of a burden on prison staff and should be slowed down. The AG wrote in a motion filed on Wednesday with the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals. Attorney General Ginter Drummond, who witnessed last week's execution of Scott Eisenberg, asked the court to set the execution 60 days apart rather than the current pace of 30 days apart. The DOC said in a statement it appreciates Drummond's request and his support for the agency. Missouri Southern's TV station could get a facelift. The communications department says the nonprofit TV station KGCS-TV received an up to $1.5 million matching grant from the state to upgrade studio spaces and labs. The grant would match funds from other sources. The money will go toward building a full state-of-the-art green screen studio, new furnishings, and a separate LED wall to provide virtual reality production opportunities. The station provides hands-on training opportunities for students in the department. KGCS TV broadcasts throughout the Joplin region on Digital Channel 21. Emmanuel Crawford is a star running back at Grove High School. He was recently named the Player of the Year for the state of Oklahoma by Gatorade, but before picking up a ball, Crawford experienced a miracle. Born in Ghana, Crawford was sold into child slavery and then rescued by the Touch a Life Foundation at 3 years old. A loving family adopted Crawford and nourished him to become the football star he is today.
Every year, it seems like there's just a new skill that I've unlocked out of nowhere with all the hard work through the summer and just putting in the hours and hours of work.
Crawford plans to attend the University of Arkansas this summer. We wish him the best. The Carthage School Board is putting a bond issue to voters on the April ballot. The district is asking for $18 million by extending current levies for 2 years to 2040. That money will go towards funding a performing arts center and a baseball field.
This does not affect our tax rate, what we pay right now. This is not affected at all. This extends the bonds in about 17 years. That's all this deals with. You're planning for the future. If you want to pay taxes 17, 18 years from now, that's what this is about.
Voters rejected the bond back in August during the state primaries. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, a new study reveals why it may be good for children to play with blocks. Plus, a woman who advocates for the homeless sees herself in the same position as she is set to lose her home. And we take another look at the more winter-like weather. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Unless you absolutely have to. There we go. Boy, this thing took forever to come back on. You turn it off once, just once, and then all of a sudden it's just over. Anyway, for the 14th time, it's cold outside. Advising against going outside. We're at 35 in Joplin, feeling like 24 because we got a west-southwest breeze at 20, gusting to 32. You take a look at temperatures across the region and it is just cold. 34 in Nevada, Fort Scott, Pittsburgh, Parsons, 32 Iola, 37 Miami, Grove, Anderson, and 35 in Neosho. Now, let's factor in what the wind does. I'm not doing this to scare you, just pointing out the facts here. Feels like 23 Iola, 27 Columbus, 22 in Lamar, 25 in Neosho. Feels like 28 this morning in Miami. Now the MoDOT camera at I-44 and Rangeline is looking good. It's looking dry. It's looking clear. We got green light for your morning drive as we are mostly cloudy and cold for your morning commute. And as you head into your evening drive, another green light as we'll be partly to mostly cloudy and still remaining cold. Now here's the deal though. Temperatures for today, even though they are really cold compared to what we've seen, are right about where they should be. 31 at 7 a.m. for kids getting on the bus with those gusty winds, upwards of 35 miles an hour. And then 36 by 3 o'clock. We're holding on to some pretty cloudy skies throughout most of today. We're looking for a high of about 43 in Joplin. Some of us may not make it out of the upper 30s today. And as we go back into tonight, while that is very cold, that's like almost right on par for average for this time of year, with a low of 29 tonight under some partly cloudy skies. All right, tomorrow we're chilly, 46 degrees, partly cloudy, and then of course if winter's going to settle back in, why not throw some winter precipitation at us, right? We got rain on Saturday that as temperatures drop could transition to a wintry mix. Then we'll start the day Sunday with some light snow possible. So watch out for slick spots. Then we'll go into Monday. We're only 39 on Monday, so some evening snow chances possible, translating into some snow in the first half of our Tuesday as well. So a couple of systems we're going to keep an eye on for you. And of course, these temperatures, these then get below normal as we go back into the upper 30s. We're back with more right after this. All right, now that my microphone's back to power here, we're going to try this the right way. It is 35 in Joplin right now. I got some partly cloudy skies, feeling like 24. West-southwest breeze at 20, gusting to 32, as we mentioned earlier. We also showed you these really cold temperatures. We're all in the 30s. We got 32 in Iola, 34 Nevada, Fort Scott, 35 Lamar, 36 in Chatopa, and 35 in Neosho. You factor in the wind chill, feeling like 28 down in Miami, 25 Chanute, 23 Iola, and 22 in Lamar. So for your morning drive, we're looking pretty good. Got a green light. We'll be mostly cloudy through the morning and cold, and a green light for your drive home, as we should be dry, partly to mostly cloudy skies and remaining cold. Kids getting on and off the bus today are going to need that coat. We got a west breeze at about 15 to 20, gusting to 35 through the day, 31 by 7 a.m., and then as we head home, we're only up to about 36 by 3 o'clock. We are looking at a high in Joplin right around 43 degrees, but a lot of us may not make it out of the upper 30s today, so that's going to just make the wind factored in there feel even worse. But we'll have mostly cloudy skies throughout the majority of the day. Then we'll start to trend partly cloudy as we head into the evening, dropping back down to a seasonable low of 29 degrees. Now, the good news about the wind is it will eventually start to calm down as we head into the evening. You see, we still have a few gusts, and then by tomorrow morning, these wind gusts just kind of kick on out of here, and a gust of 4 miles an hour is going to be quite nice. So this is a trash can knocked over kind of day, so make sure it is secure or placed up against the side of your house, a shed, garage, whatever you may have. Now, we stay calm through tomorrow, and then as we go into Saturday, so you can see we get some rain showers going, and as temperatures begin to drop, we start to see a little bit of a wintry mix, maybe even some light snow as we head into Sunday morning, as you can see, especially on the Missouri side. And that's not the only system that we're watching. Take a look out west as we head into Monday evening. We start with some rain, and then that could transition to a wintry mix and possibly some light snow as well. So again, we're up to 46 tomorrow, partly cloudy. We've got the wintry precipitation chances Saturday night into Sunday morning, and then they return Monday night into Tuesday. Temperatures drop back into the 30s for highs as we head through the next several days. So we will keep an eye on these two systems for you, one way or the other. Slick spots are definitely likely. But we'll keep an eye for accumulation totals and keep you updated as we get a little bit closer. Well, a woman in California that helps the ones in need now is finding herself in a similar spot. Amber Lee takes us to meet her and learn her story.
Hey! You next, right? Okay.
Sharon Alexander, with the help of volunteers, feeds the homeless in Oakland every week. She is co-founder of Arthur Jean Safe Place, a nonprofit.
I'm doing something that, for that one moment in time, may help someone else. Without judgment, with respect.
Alexander tells me she was once homeless herself and loves to serve those less fortunate.
It's from my heart. It's a passion.
But now she says she and her nonprofit will be without a home after January 31st.
Clothes and things like that, we'll put them in backpacks and we'll, bring that out too.
Alexander runs her nonprofit out of her home in San Pablo. She tells me she's lived here for 12 years, but the property owner's failure to fix multiple code violations is forcing her out. She and her grandson, who volunteers by her side, are packing up and praying that they will find a new home.
We're not going to give up, but it's just that it's very scary, I'll be honest with you.
Scared and grieving, she says her partner and the nonprofit's co-founder, Ronald Wolf, died 3 months ago. Still, she's determined to continue their mission.
Yeah, here you go. Thank you. You're welcome.
Lynette Vaughn tells me she's battling an addiction to crack cocaine. She says Alexander's weekly offerings of a hot meal are a lifeline.
It helps a lot. It helps a lot, you know what I'm saying? She comes every Sunday, and I'll be right here every Sunday.
Alexander says helping others gives her strength.
I just keep going, one day at a time. One day at a time, I'm looking at resources. My whole world seems like it's crumbling down, but I believe that I'm going to be stronger when we get through this.
Alexander is moving most of her belongings into storage. She plans to stay at a motel for 2 weeks and keep the faith that somehow things will work out. That brings us to our question for you this morning. How should the homeless population be helped? Is it through affordable housing, promoting homeless shelters, donating clothes to shelters, donating time to help, fundraise, or talk to local politicians, or maybe something else? We want to hear from you. Make sure you vote through our website, through the app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. We're back with Health Watch right after this.
topping Health Watch this morning. Moderna's RSV vaccine trial for older adults is showing promising results. The drug company announced Wednesday the vaccine was nearly 84% effective at preventing lower respiratory tract disease in people ages 60 and older. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a common contagious virus that causes infections of the respiratory tract. Moderna says in a phase 3 trial, the vaccine was generally well tolerated with no safety concerns identified. Adding, it uses the same messenger RNA technology as its successful COVID-19 shots. The CDC says RSV infections kill between 6,000 and 10,000 older adults every year. Well, some preservatives used in favorite foods may also alleviate a health risk. That's according to a new study. A French team of researchers says nitrates, often found in some red meats like bacon and sausage, could be causing greater risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Obesity also raises the risk of developing type 2 diabetes by 6. The scientists also say nitrates are connected to causing tumors as well. 37 million Americans have diabetes and 90% of cases are type 2 diabetes. Well, your frozen forehead may fade faster than expected. A new study suggests the COVID-19 vaccine may make Botox injections fade at a faster rate. Researchers claim Botox did not last as long in people who received the COVID vaccine compared to those who are unvaccinated. Now, Botox is commonly used to reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. The study found patients who received the Pfizer vaccine needed a touch-up within 3 months of getting Botox injections, whereas Botox results lasted 4 to 6 months in patients without a vaccine. The researchers suggest the outcome might be caused by the vaccine's impact on the body's immune system, but further research is needed to determine if that's the reason. Well, experts say playing with blocks could help kids build up their math skills. According to research from The Ohio State University, playing with blocks helps a child develop spatial skills, which is essential to learning math at a young age. Researchers say spatial skills can also apply to understanding the position of numbers in a physical number line. Well, a new study suggests young COVID-19 patients who have another respiratory virus at the same time end up with more severe illness. Researchers looked at data on more than 4,300 children who were hospitalized due to coronavirus. They say more than 20% also tested positive for another respiratory virus, like RSV or adenovirus. According to the study, the patients who were younger than 5 tended to become sicker. They were more likely to need increased oxygen support and be admitted to the intensive care unit. Experts say the findings are more reason why it is important that children remain up to date on their COVID-19 and flu vaccinations. Well, a new study has found that spending time in nature 3 to 4 times a week reduces the need for some medications. The study, published in the journal Occupational and Environmental Medicine, interviewed approximately 6,000 random people in 3 of the largest cities in Finland. It found that those nature visits, like going for a walk in the park or along a lake, were associated with lower odds of using blood pressure, anxiety, and asthma medications. According to the study, observing nature while indoors did not appear to work. It did not impact the use of medications. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
It is breezy and it is cold outside. We'll tell you about the temperatures today and some incoming wintry precipitation when we come back.
Right now at 5:30, Amber Jenkins takes us to Grove, Oklahoma, where we learn the inspiring story of a student who has overcome a lot in his life.
We've got a pretty cold start to the day. As you can see, all of us in the 30s. Some of us may not make it out of the 30s. We'll break down the forecast and some wintry weather on the way coming up.
And thanks to a grant, MSSU's nonprofit TV station could get a facelift.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:29. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So it's cold, it's breezy out there, but believe it or not, it's a lot closer to seasonable. Winter had to return at some point, and it has officially returned, and it is going to be sticking around for a while. In fact, we even got some winter precipitation to talk about. We're at 35 in Joplin right now, feeling like 24. The west-southwest breeze at 20, gusting to 32, and that's going to be the trend for most of today. We're at 32 in Iola, 33 Pittsburgh, 38 Miami, 35 Neosho, and 35 in Carthage. With the wind chill, feels like 20 in Iola, 24 in Pittsburgh, 29 Miami, feels like 22 in Carthage. MoDOT camera, I-44 and range line looks pretty good. We got a green light for your morning drive as we're mostly cloudy and cold, and a green light for the drive home as we'll be partly to mostly cloudy and still pretty darn chilly out there. Kids going to need a coat to and from school today as we're 31 at 7 a.m. West breeze at 15 to 20, gusting to 35. We hold on to gusty winds into the afternoon. We're 36 by 3 o'clock and still mostly cloudy. We're going to be partly to mostly cloudy throughout the day. Heading for a high of about 43 in Joplin, but as I mentioned, some of us may not get out of the upper 30s today. And as we head into tonight, the good news is the winds will calm down and it's going to be cold, but that 29 is almost right on the nose for where we're supposed to be this time of year for our overnight low, and will be partly cloudy. As we look ahead, we're up to 46 tomorrow under partly cloudy skies. We got some rain, snow possible Saturday night into Sunday, and then we have another chance of some snow Monday night into Tuesday. We're keeping an eye on both those systems for you. Slick spots are likely. Temperatures after that don't get out of the upper 30s for the next several days. So winter is here.
I don't really mind the snow as long as our temperatures stay above freezing.
We're working on that.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Well, a Missouri man now faces charges for his actions during the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol building. According to the Department of Justice, 26-year-old Kyler Joseph Bard of Seneca, Missouri, has been arrested on felony charges, including assaulting a law enforcement officer. Authorities say Bard also breached and engaged in physical violence and disorderly conduct while in a restricted building. He was arrested on January 13, 2023 in Joplin, Missouri. This case is being prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia and the Department of Justice National Security Division's Counterterrorism Section. The Oklahoma Attorney General says the state's current schedule of executing a death row inmate roughly every 30 days is placing too much of a burden on prison staff and should be slowed down. The AG wrote in a motion filed on Wednesday with the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals. Attorney General Ginter Drummond, who witnessed last week's execution of Scott Eisenberg, asked the court to set the executions 60 days apart rather than the current pace of 30 days apart. The DOC said in a statement it appreciates Drummond's request and his support for the agency. Missouri Southern's TV station is getting a new facelift thanks to a new state grant. The communication department says the nonprofit TV station KGCS TV received up to a $1.5 million matching grant from the state to upgrade studio spaces and labs. The grant will go towards building a full state-of-the-art green screen studio, new furnishings, and a separate LED wall to provide virtual reality production opportunities. The station provides hands-on training opportunities for students in the department. Carthage School Board is putting a bond issue to voters on the April ballot. The district is asking for $18 million by extending current levies for 2 years to 2040. That money would go towards funding a performing arts center and a baseball field.
I think you have a lot of support both ways. I mean, that's the part of the democratic process is you have people who do not approve or agree. Our goal is to make certain people act civil, use social media positively, and not try to be Republican versus Democrat nationwide. That's not what we want here.
Voters rejected a school bond proposal back in August. A Grove High School football player was named the Oklahoma Player of the Year by Gatorade. KOAM's Amber Jenkins shares his inspiring story.
I told y'all it was coming! I told y'all!
Emmanuel Crawford is one of Grove's brightest players during Friday Night Lights. From coaches to the student body, everybody recognizes Emmanuel's talent.
Emmanuel is an outstanding football player, and that's how most people have gotten to know him, but he's a better human being. And remember, he's a really, really good football player.
Emmanuel was the only one surprised when Gatorade named him the Player of the Year for the state of Oklahoma.
It was a surreal moment, you know, with all the other good players in Oklahoma, you know, kids who were 5 stars, 4 stars. It was crazy to me. I found out in the weight room, and I was just like sat there like, there's no way this is happening.
Family, hard work, and faith are elements Emmanuel dedicates his success to. However, life hasn't always been easy. Born in Ghana and sold into child slavery, Emmanuel values how football taught him to not let a bad start affect the overall game.
It really helps you with the battles you go through in life, because football, you could do something really bad one play, and then the next play you go score a touchdown. It changes your mood completely.
Football isn't the only thing Emmanuel is known for. He was crowned homecoming king, DJ'd the homecoming dance, yet was still humble enough to help clean up afterwards.
So the kid who's the homecoming king is DJing the dance, scoring 5 touchdowns, and is taking out the trash from the dance. I mean, he's just a humble, hardworking young man.
Reporting in Grove, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Crawford is planning on attending the University of Arkansas this summer. We wish him the best. Well, this morning we're discussing how to help the homeless population.
Now, Sharon Alexander, with the help of volunteers, feeds the homeless in Oakland every week. She's co-founder of Arthur Jean Safe Place, a nonprofit. Alexander says she was once homeless herself and loves to serve those less fortunate. But now she says she and her nonprofit will be without a home January 31st.
Alexander runs her nonprofit out of her home in San Pablo. She says she's lived there for 12 years, but the property owner's failure to fix multiple code violations is forcing her out. She and her grandson, who volunteers by her side, are packing up and praying that they will find a new home.
That brings us to our question for you this morning. How should the homeless population be helped? You've got a number of options there. So far, 100% of you say through affordable housing. Your other choices are through fundraising, promoting shelters, donating clothes, donating time to help, talking to local politicians, and of course, if those options don't fit, you can vote for other, and make sure you do through our website, our app, and take part in discussion on our Facebook page.
And I suppose other could even include all of those options.
That's a possibility as well.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, if you've ever entered the state of Alabama from I-65, then you've more than likely seen the Saturn 1B rocket. However, this iconic rocket has an uncertain future.
Plus, the world's oldest dated runestone is found in Norway, and archaeologists say it has a mysterious inscription on it. We'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern will not seek re-election and plans to resign in the coming weeks. Ardern says she does not have the energy to seek re-election in the October polls. She added her term would end early next month, and a vote to elect the next leader of her Labour Party would be held on Sunday. Ardern became Prime Minister in 2017 at the age of 37, making her the third female leader in the country. She has led New Zealand through the COVID-19 pandemic and the Christchurch mosque shootings. A general election will be held October 14th. A French nun believed to be the oldest person in the world dies at 118 years old. Lucille Rendon, known as Sister Andre, was just a few weeks shy of her 119th birthday. She was born in southern France in 1904 and even survived contracting COVID-19 shortly before her 117th birthday. When asked about her exceptionally long life, Rendon told a French media outlet that, quote, "Working makes you live. I worked until I was 108. She also enjoyed chocolate and wine daily. With Rendon's death, the oldest living person in the world is now American-born Maria Brañas Morera, who is living in Spain and is 115 years old. At least 15 people are dead after a helicopter crash in a suburb outside of Kyiv. Authorities confirm Ukraine's Interior Minister Denis Monastyrski, other officials, and 3 children are among the dead. Monastyrski oversaw Ukraine's police and emergency services. He's the most senior official to die since the war started nearly 1 year ago. It's not immediately known if the crash was related to the war or just an accident. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called the crash a terrible tragedy on a black morning. The United Nations says nearly 250,000 migrants crossed a dangerous path trying to make their way north in 2022. Some died on their journey. Many migrants crossed the Darien Gap, which is the region between South and North America. This year, migrants arrive at record numbers compared to the 133,000 who crossed the gap in 2021. The UN reported at least 36 people died traveling from Colombia to Panama. The area consists of a thick rainforest, making it hard to estimate the true numbers of who are dead, many coming from Haiti, Cuba, and Ecuador, where economic and political instability are prevalent. The oldest member of the K-pop supergroup BTS, Jin, has completed 5 weeks of basic training as part of his mandatory military service. On Wednesday, Jin posted on the fan community group app Weverse for the first time since enlisting last month, sharing photos of himself in a military uniform. He told his fans, also known as the BTS Army, that he's having fun and he wants them to be happy and stay well. The 30-year-old has been selected to serve as an assistant instructor at the Yoncheon Army Base. Military service is mandatory for men in South Korea. The world's oldest dated runestone has been discovered in Norway, and archaeologists say it has a mysterious inscription from up to 2,000 years ago. Researchers at the University of Oslo's Museum of Cultural History found the stone in 2021 while investigating a burial ground in eastern Norway. Burnt bones and charcoal from the cremation pit where it was discovered revealed that the writing was carved into the sandstone boulder between 1 and 250 AD. Stone features an unexpected mixture of thinly incised shallow runes, rune-like characters, and other visual motifs. Some inscriptions are zigzag-shaped, while others form a grid pattern. The museum said interpreting the messages is a challenging task, and that's because the way of writing inscriptions varied and the language changed considerably over time. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, we are starting off cold and breezy today. We're at 35 in Joplin, feeling like 24. We got a west-southwest breeze at 20, gusting upwards of 32. And we're all seeing breezy conditions today. We've got 32 Iola, 35 Chanute, 37 Chatopa, 38 Miami, 35 Neosho, Carthage, Lamar, and 34 in Nevada. Now we throw in the wind. Feels like 20 in Iola, 25 Parsons, 29 Miami, and feels like 22 in Carthage and Lamar this morning. MoDOT camera, I-44 and range line, quite a few cars out there. We are looking good, and we do have a green light for your morning drive as we are mostly cloudy and cold, and a green light for your drive home as we'll be partly to mostly cloudy and still on the cold side out there. Kids getting on the bus, it's a chilly one today. 31 at 7 a.m., west breeze 15 to 20, gusting to 35. We hold on to the gusty winds into the afternoon. We'll be up to 36 and mostly cloudy by 3 o'clock. We'll be partly to mostly cloudy throughout today. Joplin heading for a high of right around 43. Some of us may not make it out of the upper 30s today, and it's going to be just downright cold and breezy. Now, the good news is, though, the wind starts to die down later this evening, and by the overnight hours, it's relatively calm, down to 29 for our low under partly cloudy skies. And while that is very cold, that is actually very seasonable. So a quick look at those winds. They'll be gusting, and as we head into this evening, you can see they start to calm down, and by late tonight, very early tomorrow morning, the winds are much better for us. We're looking at a trash can knocked over kind of day, so make sure it's up against your garage, shed, something like that. Just keep it from blowing over. We're calm tomorrow, and then as we head into Saturday, we have a system that'll be rain during the day, and as we head into the evening hours and overnight, temperatures drop, and that could turn into a wintry mix, maybe even some light snow as we head into Sunday morning. Then we get a brief break before we head into Monday. Take a look out west. Now you can see we're expected to be warm. I think it's going a little overboard on how warm we'll be on Monday, but we'll start with rain as we head into the late evening hours on Monday, and as temperatures drop, that'll turn into a potential wintry mix and maybe even some light snow. And that light snow could hold on for a good portion of Tuesday. It's something we're definitely keeping an eye on for you. Don't want to show you that yet. It's not time for that yet. So we're up to 46 tomorrow. Not bad. We're down to up to 46 Saturday, down to 38 Sunday. After that, we don't get out of the upper 30s. Then you can see the different wintry systems that we have over the next few days, and we'll keep an eye on that. One thing for certain is we're going to look at some slick spots, and we'll have better accumulation totals for you as we head through the next few days. And after that, we start to get back to normal, at least briefly, by the end of next week. Before Saturday, we drop down to 33 for a high. We're back with more right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. After a 3-year hiatus due to renovations, Missouri Southern will host the first event in the Taylor Performing Arts Center next week. Taylor Performing Arts Center was constructed in 1975, and for 50 years it served as the largest event space in the region. But with time, things start to wear out. The Carthage School Board is putting a bond issue to voters on the April ballot. The district is asking for $18 million by extending current levies for 2 years to 2040. That money will go towards funding a performing arts center and a baseball field. A Carthage teacher received a big honor on Wednesday. Christina Landberg is one of 12 educators to join Scholastic's inaugural 2022-23 Teacher Fellow cohort. She teaches 4th grade at the Carthage Intermediate Center. Cohort of educators get the chance to collaborate with Scholastic Education's research product, research, and publishing teams. In Carthage, Missouri, voters will decide whether the city adds a local tax on recreational marijuana sales. City council members approved a measure for the April ballot. If passed, it would charge a 3% tax on retail sales of recreational marijuana in city limits. That would be in addition to the 6% that state voters approved when they legalized recreational use last November. Revenue from the city sales tax would go into the city's general fund. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. For those entering the state of Alabama from Tennessee on Interstate 65, chances are you've probably seen the Saturn 1B rocket at the Ardmore Welcome Center. But officials say the rocket has an uncertain future amid continuing deterioration.
Unless you've been up close to the rocket, you're not aware that it is in not very good shape.
The Ardmore Welcome Center was established back in 1977. 2 years later, the U.S. Space and Rocket Center donated the Saturn 1B rocket. For 4 decades, it served as a symbol for Huntsville's role in the space program. But the 168 feet high, 22 feet in diameter rocket is decaying.
There's been an ongoing discussion within the space community in Huntsville as to what is going to happen or what should be done with the Saturn 1B, about should it be taken down and restored or what should be put in its place.
Saturn 1B was one of 3 Saturn rockets developed here in Huntsville. It was designed for orbital training missions with both the Apollo spacecraft and lunar model.
I think we need something that's more contemporary, but would still make people say, oh gosh, we got to stop and look at that. It needs to be something just as exciting as what has been there for the last 40-something years.
Right now, the Welcome Center is closed. It's in the process of getting a facelift. Central says the rocket was painted in 2006 and received additional maintenance in 2014, but the rocket is still deteriorating.
Keep in mind that this rocket was never built to be intended to be outside for 40 to 50 years, because rockets that were built were to be used one time.
At the end of the day, Centel says the future for Saturn 1B is in the hands of Marshall Space Flight Center and the U.S. Space and Rocket Center.
Anything that goes up in its place is something, it would take a big cooperative outlay of money that would come from a number of different sources, because whatever goes up next will be expensive.
All right, we'll be right back with more, including the Cincinnati Zoo sharing what baby Fritz has been up to. We'll be right back. Well, Fritz, the Cincinnati Zoo's 6-month-old baby hippo, played with the ball in his Ohio home recently. Aww, the ball's as big as he is. Video posted by the Cincinnati Zoo on January 14th shows the hippo playing with his new ball. Despite his youth, the zoo has reported that Fritz weighs around 425 pounds. The zoo said adult male hippopotamuses can weigh anywhere from 3,500 to 7,000 pounds. Aw, he's so cute. The New England Aquarium Sea Turtle Hospital in Massachusetts began caring for 64 stranded sea turtles suffering from life-threatening medical conditions. Turtles were found stranded on Cape Cod beaches. All sea turtles in the United States are considered threatened or endangered. Each year, hundreds of cold-stunned sea turtles wash up on the beaches of Cape Cod. And due to the rapidly changing water temperatures and wind pattern, many turtles cannot escape the hook-like area of the Cape Cod Bay and become hypothermic. The staff decided to playfully name this batch of patients after pasta shapes, with fusilli, orzo, and lasagna among the group. A video provided by the New England Aquarium shows the staff working to rehabilitate the rescued turtles.
You may want some warm pasta today because it is going to be cold and windy. We're looking at a high of about 43 in Joplin. A lot of us may not make it out of the upper 30s, to be honest. West wind gusting upwards of 30 to 35 miles an hour. Will be partly to mostly cloudy. As we head into tonight, it gets cold, but that is about where we're supposed to be this time of year as we drop down to 29 under partly cloudy skies. Now, the good news is as we head into the evening and overnight, the winds will calm down for us. We're 46 tomorrow and partly cloudy, watching a rain starting as rain Saturday, turning into a wintry mix Saturday night, maybe some early morning snow on Sunday. So we're keeping an eye on that for you. After that, temperatures don't get out of the upper 30s, and we watch additional evening snow chances Monday. Could translate into some snow chances on Tuesday, so we're watching that for you. One thing for sure, watch out for slick spots over the next few days, as once winter officially sets back in, we set in with some wintry precipitation to go right along with it. We're back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Right now at 6, authorities charge a Seneca, Missouri man with multiple felonies for his actions during the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol building.
It is cold, it is breezy outside, and it is not really going to warm up, and not for the next several days as winter sets back in. We'll talk about your full forecast coming up.
And Carthage voters will soon get to decide whether the city adds a local tax to recreational marijuana sales.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner, just after 6 o'clock on this Thursday morning. That much closer to Friday, which is always a good thing. But boy, we are wrapping up the week on a cold note. After we had some pretty decent days, winter has made a return. We knew it had to eventually, and it has officially returned. We're at 34 in Joplin. Feels like 22 with a west-south breeze at west-southwest breeze at 22, gusting to 32. And we're all dealing with breezy conditions out there. So take a look across the area. It's also cold. 32 Iola, 34 in Parsons, Chetopa, Miami, Neosho, Monette, Carthage, and 33 in Lamar. You factor in the wind, feels like 20. Yates Center and Iola, 23 Parsons, 24 Miami. Feels like 21 in Lamar this morning, and it's not going to do a lot of warming. Now for the one piece of good news is, as you can see on the MoDOT camera at I-44 and Rangeline, we're looking good. We have a green light for your morning drive as we're mostly cloudy and cold. Same for your evening drive as we will be partly to mostly cloudy and still cold. Kids getting on the bus, make sure they are bundled up because it is going to be chilly. 31 by 7 a.m. West breeze 15 to 20, gusting to 35. We hold on to the gusty winds into the afternoon, up to 36 and mostly cloudy by 3 o'clock. We're looking at highs anywhere from the upper 30s to the lower 40s across the area. It's going to be downright chilly out there. We'll have partly to mostly cloudy skies, and of course we're dealing with that wind. Now the good news is the wind begins to die down as we head into this evening. We're back down to 29 for an overnight low, so that's very cold. I don't like it, but that is exactly, or almost exactly, where we are supposed to be for this time of year. So again, winter had to return eventually, and it certainly is, and it is coming back with a vengeance because Saturday we'll have some rain transitioning into a wintry mix and some light snow by Sunday morning, so keep an eye on that. As you see, after that, we don't get out of the upper 30s for the next several days as we head into next week. Then we have another chance of snow Monday night into Tuesday. So we're going to keep an eye on both those systems. Be aware of slick spots for sure. And of course, as we get closer, we'll have some accumulation totals for you. I'm not looking at anything major, but we are still looking at wintry precipitation. And of course, that can make driving hazardous regardless of how much falls out there. So be aware of that over the next several days and be prepared to bundle up because it is going to be downright chilly.
Yes, it is. That's for sure.
Cold weather is absolutely back.
All right. Thanks, Chris. A Missouri man now faces charges for his actions during the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol building. According to the Department of Justice, Kyler Joseph Bard, who is 26 years old from Seneca, Missouri, is arrested on felony charges, including assaulting a law enforcement officer. Authorities say Bart also breached and engaged in physical violence and disorderly conduct while in a restricted building. He was arrested on January 13th, 2023 in Joplin, Missouri. Now, this case is being prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia and the Department of Justice National Security Division's Counterterrorism Section. An Oklahoma man is sentenced on Wednesday for his role in 2 separate homicides involving a prison gang. Matthew Armstrong pleaded guilty in 2021 to several charges related to the murders of Scotty Candler and Nicole Owl. A judge sentenced him to life in prison in the 2017 murder and kidnapping of Owl. He was also given 10 years in prison for his role in the 2015 murder of Candler. During both cases, Armstrong was involved in the smuggling of methamphetamine and other contraband for the Indian Brotherhood into various prisons. You can read more about these cases on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Wednesday afternoon, Missouri Governor Mike Parson delivered his 2023 State of the State address to the Missouri General Assembly. Governor Parson wants to spend roughly $800 million to improve access to child care. He also announced the state is increasing core funding to community colleges and 4 institutions by 7%, the largest increase in more than 25 years.
Now for our non-college students of Missourians seeking a new career path. We are investing $3 million in Apprenticeship Missouri to expand apprenticeship opportunities with focus on IT, public health, education, and public safety, among others.
Newly elected Missouri Congressman Eric Burleson visited KCU Joplin on Wednesday. Burleson, who represents Missouri's 7th Congressional District, toured the facility and the College of Dental Medicine, which is scheduled to open in June. Carthage, Missouri voters will decide whether the city adds a local tax on recreational marijuana sales. City council members approved a measure for the April ballot. If passed, it would charge a 3% tax on retail sales of recreational marijuana in city limits. That would be in addition to the 6% that state voters approved when they legalized recreational use last November. Revenue from the city sales tax would go into the city's general fund.
So for us, it'll go into our general fund to start with, which our general fund is basically kind of our base fund that funds salaries and things like that. Then it'll be up to the council if they leave it there and it's essentially just a source of general tax revenue, or if it's allocated.
Will go on the April 4th ballot. The Joplin City Council approved a similar ballot proposal Wednesday night. KOAM's Carrie Worthen brings us more on this story later in the show. Carthage teacher received a big honor on Wednesday. Christina Landberg is one of 12 educators to join Scholastic's inaugural 2022-23 Teacher Fellow cohort. She teaches 4th grade at the Carthage Intermediate Center. The cohort of educators get the chance to collaborate with Scholastic Education's research product, research, and publishing teams.
One of the top 12 in the nation to be part of the Scholastic Teachers Fellows program. It's a great opportunity not only for myself, but it's also a great opportunity for our school district and my students.
The program will run through July. Landberg will complete a project that will be showcased at a summit in Scholastic's New York City headquarters at the end of the program. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Chef Anthony from Pittsburgh High School culinary class stops by to share a recipe for a light and easy salad. Plus, the triple-demic takes its toll on the youngest.
A new study says kids under 5 are being hit the hardest by the triple-demic of respiratory illnesses. I'm Michael George with what parents can do to protect their children.
And Chris has the latest on winter's return to the 4 states. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Health Watch this morning, new research in the Journal of the European Society of Cardiology suggests COVID-19 patients should be monitored well after recovery. Researchers studying COVID-19 patients before there was a vaccine available found they were more likely to die from the disease in the first weeks after infection or develop major cardiovascular disease months later compared to uninfected individuals. Danish researchers say they've identified a link between premature birth and cognitive ability. In a large observational study. They found babies born before 34 weeks of pregnancy scored lower in math and language tests as teenagers compared with those born at 40 weeks. Researchers also stress social circumstances may play a role in these outcomes. New research published in the BMJ finds seafood and oily fish may be beneficial to your diet. A team examining the results of 19 studies from 12 countries found higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids found in seafood were associated with a lower risk of developing chronic kidney disease. With so many different viruses circulating this winter, a new study out today finds it's the youngest Americans who suffer the most when they get hit with multiple respiratory illnesses at once. Michael George reports.
There have been warnings all winter about a so-called triple-demic of COVID, RSV, and flu. And new research suggests it's young children who get impacted the most. A study in the journal Pediatrics looked at children who were hospitalized with COVID. Those under age 5 who tested positive for a second virus, such as a cold, were significantly more likely to receive increased oxygen support or be admitted to the intensive care unit. Researchers from the CDC also found children under age 2 who also had RSV were twice as likely to have severe respiratory illness compared to those without RSV.
Young children haven't had the experience of these viruses that we older folks have had.
Dr. William Schaffner is a professor of infectious diseases at Vanderbilt University Medical Center.
Stands to reason that they may be hit a little bit harder and get a little sicker.
Among the entire U.S. population, the CDC says flu and RSV cases have started to decline in most areas, but COVID cases are on the rise compared to the fall.
The winter's not over. Those viruses are still out there. Let's continue to take good precautions.
Health experts say those precautions include making sure young children are vaccinated against COVID and the flu and frequent hand washing. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Study also found that among hospitalized children with COVID, obesity and diabetes were also significantly associated with severe illness. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We are looking at a cold and breezy start for us today. The roads, at least, are in good shape, as you can see on the MoDOT camera at I-44 and Rangeline. Same at 7th and Rangeline from our camera there, but we have some wintry precipitation on the way and even colder temperatures, if you can believe it. We'll talk about all that coming up. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Time for a little weather trivia for you. So these things here. What are these bubble-like protrusions that can sometimes be seen hanging from the base of a cumulonimbus cloud called? Are they called Calvus, Mammatus clouds, Tubos clouds, or Panis clouds? While you think about that, let's try not to think about how cold it is, but I'll tell you because you need to know. It's 34 in Joplin, feel like 22 with the west-southwest breeze at 22, gusting to 32. There's a lot of twos over here this morning. Across the region, it is a cold start for the day, but can you believe it? These temperatures in the 30s, the lower to mid 30s, are actually technically still above average for this time of year. But don't worry, if you like average, we're about to be there. So don't worry too much. If you don't like average, I would suggest migrating southward. We're at 32 in Iola, 34 Parsons, Chitopa, Miami, Neosho, Carthage, and 33 in Lamar. Then you factor in that gusty wind we have out there. We're at 20 is what it feels like in Iola, 23 Parsons, Columbus, 24 is what it feels like in Miami, feels like 22 in Carthage, and 21 in Lamar. Now the MoDOT camera at I-44 and Rangeline sure looks pretty good so far this morning. We got a green light for your morning drive as we're dry, mostly cloudy, breezy, and cold. And we have a green light for your drive home as we partly to mostly cloudy and, yeah, you guessed it, still cold. Kids getting on the bus, bundle up because we're looking at 31 by 7 a.m., west breeze at 15 to 20, gusting upwards of 35, and we'll hold on to gusty winds through the day, 36 by 3 o'clock and still breezy. We're going to be partly to mostly cloudy. We're looking at highs in the upper 30s to lower 40s, pushing about 43 in Joplin today under those partly to mostly cloudy skies with those gusty winds. But the good news is the gusty winds will calm down tonight, and here's average for you. We're right about on par for where we should be tonight, 29 for our overnight low with partly cloudy skies. Now, as I mentioned, we'll have the gusty winds as we go through the majority of today, but as we start to head into the evening hours, the winds begin to slowly calm down, and by late tonight and early overnight, the winds will finally be calm and bearable. But today is a trash can knocked over kind of day, so make sure it's secured. Now, We have wintry precipitation down the road. We're talking about that heading into Saturday night into Sunday morning. And then we have another chance of some wintry precipitation next week on Monday as we start with some rain, transitioning to maybe some wintry mix and light snow into Tuesday as well. So let's get to the answer of our trivia question. These bubbly-like things on the bottom of cumulonimbus clouds, what are they called? Well, if you happen to guess B, mammatus clouds, you would be correct. As a matter of fact, mammatus is the result of sinking moist air moving downward into dry air. It's basically an upside-down cloud, and while we commonly see them with severe thunderstorms, they're not always indicative of severe weather because you can see them with other cloud formations, and even when it's not necessarily going to do a lot in terms of weather. All right, 46 tomorrow. We're watching that rain-snow mix Saturday into Sunday, so watch out there. Temperatures will only be in the upper 30s, though, as we head through the next several days of next week. And then we have, again, the wintry precipitation possible Monday night into Tuesday, and we'll update you with the latest accumulation totals as we get closer to these systems. We're back with more of the KOAM Morning News after this.
Right now at 6:30, authorities charge a Seneca, Missouri man with multiple felonies for his actions during the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol building.
And while it's hard to tell just looking at this camera, it is cold, it is windy, it is going to stay that way today. It's going to get colder yet. We'll break down your full forecast coming up.
And Carthage voters will soon get to decide whether the city adds a local tax to recreational marijuana sales.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:29. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So cold, breezy, that's how it is this morning. That's how it's going to be for us throughout the entire day today, which is, well, I mean, it's winter. It's back. I mean, that's just what it is, and that's how it is. We're at 34 in Joplin right now, feeling like 22 with a west-southwest wind at 22, gusting to 32 miles an hour across the area. It's a cold one for us, but believe it or not, these temperatures still actually a few degrees above normal. 32 in Iola, 33 Fort Scott, Pittsburgh, 34 Chetopa, Miami, Neosho, Monette, Carthage, Lamar, and Nevada. You factor in the wind, feels like 20 in Iola and Yates Center, 23 Parsons, 25 Miami, and 22 in Carthage this morning. MoDOT camera, I-44 and range line looks pretty darn good. What it doesn't tell you is that it's cold and breezy, so that's why I just did. We're looking at a green light for your morning drives. It'll be mostly cloudy and cold, and a green light for your drive home. It'll be partly to mostly cloudy and still cold. Kids needing coats this morning, getting on that bus. 31 at 7 a.m., west breeze 15 to 20, gusting upwards of 35. We hold on to the gusty winds into the afternoon, up to 36 by 3 o'clock. For today, we're looking at highs in the upper 30s. Some of us maybe even making it into the lower 40s today, so relatively close to normal. Will be partly to mostly cloudy and breezy, but there's good news. The wind, as we head into this evening, say around 5, 6 o'clock, will start to die down a bit, and it'll be calm overnight as we drop back down to a cold but relatively seasonable 29 degrees with partly cloudy skies. Now, we are watching couple of systems here for you. So we're okay tomorrow, 46, partly cloudy. Then Saturday, we're watching some rain that as the evening progresses and temperatures drop could turn into a wintry mix, maybe some light snow heading into Sunday morning. Then we're not getting out of the upper 30s from Sunday through Wednesday. And we have another chance of some light snow Monday night into Tuesday morning as well. Now, right now, we're not looking at a major winter storm or anything like that, but definitely any wintry precipitation will make roads slick out there, and we're getting it kind of back to back, so do be cautious over the next several days if you're out and about across the area, and otherwise just be prepared for it to be cold. Winter, we've been saying it for the last couple of weeks, it was going to come back. We knew it was, and here it is.
Yeah, it's here.
It's
be prepared.
Back. It is back for certain.
And maybe we can build a snowman.
We'll see.
Do you want to?
How about no?
Okay, Chris says no.
That was the funniest video I ever saw, was Elsa singing Anna doing the, "Do you want to build a snowman?" And then they edited in Dr. Evil saying, "How about no?"
Nice.
So.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, a Missouri man now faces charges for his actions during the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol building. According to the Department of Justice, Kyler Joseph Bard, who is 26 years old from Seneca, Missouri, has been arrested on felony charges, including assaulting a law enforcement officer. Now, authorities say Bard also breached and engaged in physical violence and disorderly conduct while in a restricted building. He was arrested on January 13, 2023 in Joplin, Missouri. Now, this case is prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia and the Department of Justice National Security Division's Counterterrorism Section. The Carthage School Board is putting a bond issue to voters on the April ballot. The district is asking for $18 million by extending current levies for 2 years to 2040. That money would go toward funding a performing arts center and a baseball field.
I think you have a lot of support both ways. I mean, that's the part of the democratic process, is you have people who do not approve or agree. Our goal is to make certain people act civil, use social media positively, and not try to be Republican versus Democrat nationwide. That's not what we want here.
Voters rejected a school bond proposal back in August. Carthage, Missouri voters will decide whether the city adds a local tax on the recreational marijuana sales. KOAM's Carrie Worthen talks with the Carthage city administrator and has more on this story.
I think it's a good thing. I think 3% is not too high, to scare people off. I know some people are upset about it, but you can't please everybody.
Carthage voters will decide on April 4th whether the city can charge an additional 3% sales tax on recreational marijuana in the city. Adam Murphy is the director of retail at Blue Sage Cannabis Deli in Carthage, Missouri. Blue Sage is the only dispensary in Carthage at this time.
I want our medical patients in Carthage to know that we're going to take care of them. I know there's some buzz around that, medical patients are going to get shorted because the adult use customers are going to come in and take all the product, but we're not going to let that happen here.
Carthage City Administrator Greg Dagnan says some cities could collect $100,000 to $150,000 in additional sales tax revenue.
These businesses will pop up. We only have one in town right now, but we expect that we're going to have a lot more. So then you'll have those jobs, and then you'll have, again, whatever may come from that as far as the city's response to all that additional business.
I think it's a reasonable number. I do. I think it's the right number. It's kind of mid-ground there. So yeah, we'll definitely do whatever the city tells us to do. So that's the important part. So
in Carthage, Carrie Worthen, KOAM News.
State of Missouri will collect a 6% sales tax on recreational marijuana sales. That's on top of sales already put in place by the state and localities. After a 3-year hiatus due to renovations, Missouri Southern will host the first event in the Taylor Performing Arts Center next week. The Taylor Performing Arts Center was constructed in 1975, and for 50 years it served as the largest event space in the region. But as with time, things start to wear out.
So certainly after 50 plus years, there were some structural issues that we were able to address, but mainly aesthetic reasons. You see new seats, new carpeting and tile. There'll be new curtains on the way. So it was a chance to refresh a facility that means a great deal to the university and to the community.
In 2021, Missouri lawmakers assigned $2.5 million to the university to pay for the repairs. Coming up when the KOAM makes the move over to Fox 14, Shagun Bomadali takes us for a closer look at the Taylor Performing Arts Center. This morning, we're discussing how to help the homeless population.
Now, Sharon Alexander helps feed the homeless in Oakland. She co-founded the Arthur Jean Safe Place. Alexander says she was once homeless herself and loves to serve those less fortunate. But now Alexander and her nonprofit will be without a home January 31st.
Alexander runs her nonprofit out of her home in San Pablo. Although she has lived there for 12 years, the property owner's failure to fix multiple code violations is forcing her out. She and her grandson now have to pack up and move in their praying they will find a new home.
And that brings us to our question for you this morning. How should the homeless population be helped? A number of options available to you so far, and it just updated. 34% of you say through affordable housing, and it's updating again. 22% of you for promoting shelters, 11% donating clothes, 11% say fundraising, and 22% of you say maybe doing something else. So make sure you vote through our website, through the app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. Well, the price of eggs has left many people shell-shocked. Others have hatched a plan to raise their own chickens instead.
And we are watching winter make its return to the 4 states. We're going to tell you all about that coming up.
In Consumer Watch this morning, Microsoft is cutting 10,000 workers over the next 8 months, and that's according to a securities filing. It's the latest tech company to announce layoffs amid recession fears, while in part blaming rapid hiring due to increased customer demand during the pandemic. Microsoft says it is also consolidating leased office locations. Multiple news outlets have reported that Bank of America says a glitch with Zelle transactions has been resolved. Wednesday, customers took to social media to complain that Zelle transactions were not going through and money had disappeared from their accounts. Zelle support tweeted it was aware of the issue and directed affected users to contact Bank of America. The situation caught the attention of Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, who demanded on Twitter that the issue be fixed immediately and customers be compensated. The nation's largest party supply store, Party City, has filed for bankruptcy protection. After years of ballooning debt and deflating sales, the company, founded in 1986, says it was hard hit by the COVID pandemic and global supply chain crisis. Party City says it has secured a $150 million bankruptcy loan that will allow it to keep its stores open. Chickens may not be able to fly very far, but the price of eggs is soaring. Experts say the national average price for a dozen eggs hit $3.59 in November, up $1.72 from a year earlier. Donnie Tuggle took a trip to a bird farm and learned why many people are foregoing grocery trips and starting their own flocks.
Cindy and her husband Gene owned a bird and bee farm in Rockdale, and lately business is excellent.
Since COVID, it's been pretty exponential. I mean, a huge increase in people wanting to raise their own backyard chickens.
The couple carries more than 1,000 egg-laying hens and chickens in nearly 30 varieties.
We bring in 200 to 400 baby chicks every 2 weeks.
Experts say egg prices, supply chain issues, and the cost of fuel have many considering ditching the grocery store to raise their own chickens.
We usually raise and sell chickens between 2 months and 5 months of age. The demand is so great this year that we're not even able to get chickens raised to that 4 and 5 months of age.
Issues like the avian flu also hurt supply.
In 2022, there's been over 50 million chickens lost in the U.S. because of bird flu. So of those 50 million chickens, about 80% of them are egg layers.
For Cindy and Gene, the most rewarding part of what happens on the farm is seeing first-time families become interested in agriculture.
I get text all the time, she laid her first egg and a picture of it, and you know, eggs start off small and get bigger than when they lay a big one or a double yolk.
We have young children who have their own egg businesses, and they'll come in here with a pocket full of dollar bills and buy more chickens.
Going forward, the USDA says wholesale prices are expected to decrease as the industry moves past the holiday season and continues rebuilding its egg-laying flocks. That's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, we've got a cold and breezy day ahead of us. We're at 34 right now in Joplin, feeling like 22 with a west-southwest breeze at 22, gusting to 32 out there. Across the area, believe it or not, we're still technically above average, but not by much. We're at 31 in Iola, 34 Chautauqua, Miami, Neosho, Carthage, Lamar, and 33 in Nevada. You factor in the wind, feels like 20 in Yates Center, Iola, 23 Columbus, 25 Miami, 21 Carthage, Lamar, and 22 in Nevada this morning. MoDOT camera at I-44 and Rangeline looks good. Got a green light for your morning drive as we're mostly cloudy and cold, and a green light for your drive home as we'll be partly to mostly cloudy and cold. Kids getting on the bus this morning, grab that coat. 31, west wind 15 to 20, gusting to 35 at 7 a.m. Holding on to the gusty winds this afternoon, 36 by 3. Looking at highs in the upper 30s to lower 40s with partly to mostly cloudy skies and breezy conditions. And as we head into tonight, the good news is the winds die down, but we get cold. We're back to seasonable levels with a low of 29 and partly cloudy skies. Well, it's Thursday. You know what that means. We're about to celebrate some birthdays and anniversaries. But before we do that, why don't we take a quick detour to NYC to check out what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Nate Burleson. Coming up on CBS Mornings, Amanda Shires of the band Highwomen talks to us about her recent album and treats us to a very special performance. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Edward Broglio. Private First Class Broglio served in the Army from 1943 to 1946. During his time in the Army, he helped develop chemicals to treat uniforms against mustard gas. Native of Joplin, Missouri, we thank you, today's four-state hero, Edward Broglio.
All right, time for some almost Friday birthdays across the 4 states, and we are making a stop first in St. Paul, where Dirks Witt is celebrating the big number 1 today. Happy birthday.
All right, we've got a pair of twins in Dennis, Kansas. Savannah and Tegan Shaw are turning 12 years old. Happy birthday with love from Mom and Pop.
And we've got J.C. Baker over in Humboldt, Kansas, celebrating birthday number 13. Happy birthday, J.C.
All right, Cody Rector turning 16 years old this year. Happy birthday to Cody in Commerce, Oklahoma, with love from Mom and the family.
And over in Erie, we've got Ethan Yarnell celebrating birthday number 17. Happy birthday, Ethan.
In Franklin, Brendan Alter is celebrating birthday number 18 this year.
And we've got Wade Daniels celebrating birthday number 36 in Mound Valley. Happy birthday, Wade.
All right, and Sean Buckle celebrating birthday number 37 this year. Down in Hominy, Oklahoma, there he is holding a Sun Rider.
And we've got a mother and daughter birthday celebrating on the same day in Jasper. It's Alexis Derman and Sarah Derman. Alexis turning 42, Sarah turning 20. Happy birthday to the Dermans in Jasper.
That's pretty cool to share a birthday with your mama. And Joe Taylor celebrating the big 4-0 this year in Pittsburgh. Happy birthday, Joe.
And we've got David Camp celebrating birthday number 61 with a great throwback picture there. Happy birthday, David, in Fort Scott. So we want to continue to celebrate, and we want you to celebrate with us. Tanya knows how you can help us do that.
That's right. You can send us your birthdays through the mail, drop them off, or the easiest way to do it is email them to us at birthdays@KOAMTV.com or birthdays@KOAMNewsNow.com.
And of course, over at our website, you should take some time to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. You get some great deals from local businesses, and you get a special birthday message from your friends here at KOAM. Just go to KOAMNewsNow.com. Sign up for that birthday club today. Well, coming up when the KOAM Morning News takes the field on Fox 14, Jeannie Moose brings us the story of an NFL kicker who just made the record books in the worst way. There'll be flag thrown in your living room for excessive laughter when you join us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. And before we get to all of that, boy, we've got a cold start for us today. We're at 34 in Joplin, feel like 22. That west-southwest breeze at 22, gusting to 32. Cold start for us across the region this morning, and a windy start. 31 Iola, 33 Yates Center, 34 in Chanute, Neodesha, Parsons, Chetopa, Miami, Neosho, Anderson, Grove, Carthage, Lamar. Lots of 34s out there. And then you factor in the wind, and we get a few different temperatures. Feels like 20 in Iola and Yates Center. I almost combined them into one community. 22 Chanute, 23 Parsons, 25 Miami. Feels like 22 Neosho and 21 in Carthage and Lamar. MoDOT camera at I-44 and Rangeline looking pretty good this morning, and we got a green light for that morning drive as we're mostly cloudy and cold, and a green light for your drive home as we'll be partly to mostly cloudy and still on the cold side. Kids getting on the bus here in about about 10 minutes. Looking at 31 by 7 a.m. West breeze at 15 to 20, gusting upwards of 35. And it'll still be breezy when they get home and chilly, 36 by 3 o'clock and mostly cloudy. We got partly to mostly cloudy skies throughout the day. We're looking at highs hitting into the upper 30s, some of us making it into the lower 40s, and it'll still be breezy with that wind gusting 30 to 35 miles an hour. Now, the good news is the wind calms down this evening, but we get downright cold, but seasonable. We drop back down to 29 for our low under partly cloudy skies. And as we look at the week ahead, we have some changes on the way. Tomorrow, we're not bad, partly cloudy and 46. Then we get to Saturday. Saturday, it's going to start to some rain in the afternoon. As temperatures drop in the evening, could be a wintry mix, maybe some light snow. That light snow could carry over into Sunday morning. We only make it up to 38, so be aware of that. Then there's a brief lull from Sunday afternoon into Monday evening before more light snow builds in. Only 39 on Monday, and that could translate into some snow for the first part of our Tuesday as well. We're only 37, then up to 38 Wednesday. So not looking at a major winter storm at this time, but we will keep an eye on it, and we'll keep you updated on potential accumulation totals. But of course, one thing for sure, wintry precipitation going to make the roads slick. We get back to somewhat normal by Thursday and Friday of next week, back into the 40s before we get knocked back down again by next Saturday, a high of only 33 and mostly cloudy. We're back with the news you need to know right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. After a 3-year hiatus due to renovations, Missouri Southern will host the first event in the Taylor Performing Arts Center next week. Taylor Performing Arts Center was constructed in 1975, and for 50 years it served as the largest event space in the region. But with time, things start to wear out. Carthage School Board is putting a bond issue to voters on the April ballot. The district is asking for $18 million by extending current levies for 2 years to the year 2040. The money will go towards funding a performing arts center and a baseball field. A Carthage teacher received a big honor on Wednesday. Christina Landberg is one of 12 educators to join Scholastic's inaugural 2022-23 Teacher Fellow cohort. She teaches 4th grade at the Carthage Intermediate Center. The cohort of educators get the chance to collaborate with Scholastic Education's research and publishing teams. Carthage, Missouri voters will decide whether the city adds a local tax on recreational marijuana sales. City council members approved a measure for the April ballot. If passed, it would charge a 3% tax on retail sales of recreational marijuana within city limits. And that would be in addition to the 6% that the state voters approved when they legalized recreational use last November. Revenue from the city sales tax would go into the city's general fund. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
We've got breezy and cold conditions, winds gusting upwards of 30 to 35 miles an hour out of the west today. Looking at highs in the upper 30s to lower 40s under partly to mostly cloudy skies. As we head into tonight, we're back down to a cold 29, but the good news is the wind begins to calm down considerably. We're partly cloudy, and that 29 is about normal for this time of year. We're up to 46 tomorrow, partly cloudy. Then we're watching rain turning into a wintry mix Saturday night, maybe some light snow Sunday. And then we have more light snow chances as we head into Monday and into Tuesday. So a couple of systems to watch. And on top of that, as we head into next week, temperatures don't get out of the upper 30s. So winter has returned, and it's letting us know it is still winter in the 4 states.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making strawberry French toast roll-ups in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Intriguing. That sounds pretty good. Your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. A medical breakthrough is helping a teen with Tourette's syndrome live a fuller life. Ahead on CBS Mornings, see how the 17-year-old feels after undergoing brain surgery.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, Chef Anthony is back in the Chef Anthony Test Kitchen to put the finishing touches on his light and easy salad.
Plus, it's not just the 4 states feeling the return of winter time. We'll take a look at how winter is taking an even greater toll across the country. That's going to wrap it up for us for now. We're going to see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you again today at noon.